Back in 1532, the highest ransom ever paid for someone, $1.5 billion was paid to Francisco Pizarro for the release of the last emperor of the Inca kingdom. A room full of gold that went up to their armpits, it's described, valued at $1.5 million. That's the biggest ransom ever paid for one individual. That's what the Google search will tell you. But the Bible will tell you that all of the gold of heaven was put and paid for your ransom. Jesus said, I'll risk it all. I'll risk the gold and my life. I'll risk it all. In Isaiah 53, the messianic prophecy of Isaiah, surely, and I did change the words slightly, but read it carefully. Surely he took up your pain and bore your suffering, yet you considered him punished by God, stricken by him, and afflicted. W.D. Frazee, in his book, Ransom and Reunion, writes this question about ransoms and kidnappings. And he says, what if a father's son was kidnapped and a ransom of $900,000 was demanded, and that father did all he could to rescue his son and to come up with that $900,000? What if that father was met by another man, and that man says, hey, I hear you're looking for your son and you're willing to pay $900,000 to get your son back? And the father says, yes, will you help me find my boy? And the man says, well, listen, I can get you a boy much cheaper than that. I can get you one that will only cost you $1,000. Would you think the father would say, well, that's a deal. I'll take that boy over? No, W.D. Frazee says, no. The father would respond, no, I don't want a cheaper option. I want my boy. And you hear in Isaiah 53, surely he took your pain and bore your suffering, yet you considered him punished by God and stricken by him and afflicted. But he was pierced, verse 5, for your transgressions. He was crushed for your iniquities. And the punishment that brought you peace was on him. And by his wounds, you and I are healed. In Berrien Springs, where we lived a number of years ago, a short ways away stood a chapel known to be the first site in 1913 where the old rugged cross was sung publicly. George Bernard, the writer of the old rugged cross, says, I didn't write it. The words merely fell as God's Spirit directed me to write a picture of the cross. Leandro's headed to the piano because this is a moment of decision. We've got to linger one moment longer, beloved. Just less than 2 weeks ago, we gathered in this place to bury a missionary, a friend of mine. David Dennis sat about 4 or 5 rows back. And when we announced our transition, he wrote me an email that says, Pastor, I just wonder if you would hear the heart of an old missionary, would you make an appeal for a decision for Jesus on your last Sabbath here? Well, we still have another Sabbath, but today I want to make an appeal. Because the old rugged cross runs this chorus. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross. Listen to how it plays out. It's a narrative. I'll cherish the old rugged cross. Cherish it. That's nice. Till my trophies at last I lay down. And when I lay down my trophies, listen to the narrative play out. When I lay down my trophies, then I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. Listen to me, beloved. Some of us have lingered in the cherishing. The cross is pleasant. It's nice. I have a relationship with Jesus, but you've lived in the cherishing, and you know that you have cherished it because you are still holding your trophies of anger and addiction, lust and ambition, pride and selfishness. The sin, you know what it is. Jesus is bringing it to your heart. And so you can't cling to the cross because you've got these trophies. You can only cherish the cross. Well, that's nice. But the invitation from the cross is to move from cherishing to clinging. And only if you cling to the cross will you be able to exchange it one day for a crown.